Hi, this is Kevin, and today we are continuing our study of passive voice. Uh, and this is a short presentation about the information that's basically in chart 10.4 on page 265 of our textbook, but I will shortly explain the information for you. Okay, so we are focused today on when we're using passive, when do we use a byphrase? What do I mean a byphrase? I mean uh, the part of the sentence that shows the agent. The agent is the person or thing that does the action. So in this example, the light bulb was invented by Thomas Edison. So by Thomas Edison is the byphrase. Okay, that's the thing we're talking about. So when do we use a byphrase? Um, the answer is good news. You don't really need to use it most of the time. Generally speaking, we don't use it. Okay, so uh, don't worry about it too much, but sometimes we need to use it, right? And that's what we'll talk about today. But the passive, remember, is, like I said last week, it's a change in the focus. So if we're talking about cars in being made in Osaka or the light bulb, which is an invention, I'm not really focused on the person or the thing that does the action. I'm focused on that object. So we're using passive voice. Okay. And that means that the agent is not important. And English prefers active voice. Around close to 80 to 85% of written and spoken English is in active voice, because if we know the agent, in English, if you know the agent, we prefer to use active. But anyway, that's a side note. If you are studying science and you start to read more research and things as you go into higher levels of education, you will notice that more and more passive is used in academic writing. Um, but in a passive, the agent is not important, right? Or we don't know who it is. So we don't include it. That's why we're changing the focus to focus on the object. So we don't really need to say what the agent is because it's not important to us, or maybe we don't know. Like, I don't know who's making cars in Osaka. I don't care about that. It's not important to me. I'm focused on the action or the product, the cars. So that's why I'm using passive. So usually we don't use it. Okay. So then the next question obviously is, when should I use it? Well, it's only really used when it includes important information. Okay. And what do I mean, important information? And you can ask yourself, if you're worried about using it in your sentence, ask yourself this sentence: will my sentence lose some meaning if I don't include it? Okay, you can ask yourself that. And if you lose some meaning, then maybe you should include it. So if it's really important, like you'll lose some meaning, or if your agent is famous, like Thomas Edison, um, that name is important because he's famous. He invented the light bulb, so we will include it when we use passive. That's when you should include it. So if it's important or if the agent's famous. So let's take a look at some examples. Okay. This sweater was made by my aunt. So here my focus is on the sweater. I'm talking about the sweater, so I'm using passive, but this is important. It's made by my aunt, not somewhere else, not somebody else. So I include it. And if you think, will my sentence lose meaning if I delete by my aunt? If I delete that and put my period here, this sweater was made. Well, now the sentence doesn't really make sense. It loses some meaning, right? The sweater was made. Well, I know, obviously, the sweater was made because I'm wearing it. You can see it. It was made, obviously. So this byphrase is important because it adds information, extra meaning to the sentence. But let's look at B. My sweater was made in China. Here, just like the example with cars in Osaka, I'm talking. My focus is the sweater, but I don't know who made it, or it's unknown and it's not important. I'm just focusing on the sweater, and I'm saying, oh, it was made in China, right? Or example C, Spanish is spoken in Colombia, right? I don't know the name of those speakers, and it's not important because my focus is on the language, Spanish, not the people. And obviously, I know people are speaking it. It's not dogs or, little bees flying around. It's not cats. So we don't need to use the byphrase. It's not important. D, that house was built in 1920. Again, I don't know who was building houses in 1920. My focus is on the house, so I'm using passive, and there's no byphrase because it's not important. And C, rice is grown all over the world. Okay. My focus is on rice as a crop, as a vegetable, and I'm not worried about who's doing it, right? The focus is on the product, so there's no byphrase. So most of the time, when you're using passive, the sentences will be like examples B to E, these ones. This is much more common. Only when it's important or the person's famous will we include a byphrase. Okay, so that's it for this presentation. Good luck with the activities in the textbook, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.